everyone. Welcome to the test class. So today we will be covering about software testing analyst interview question part 2 of Infosys. So I have created a bunch of questions which can be these questions can be asked in different types of interview, and I have consolidated these questions with respect to different interviews that my colleagues or my friends has given. So I have consolidated, so please watch with me till the end. So the first question is about your project. If you have used OOPS concept, interview will ask you about OOPS concept and page object model and BDD. So if you are using BDD as a framework with Cucumber, then interviewer will ask you about more question on BDD, like what all keywords you have used BDD, what all hooks, how to execute, how to do parallel thing, or blah blah. The next question is roles and responsibility. As a QA, what are your roles and responsibility? Being a manual as well as automation, what you are doing, what is your task in this project or in your current project or in your previous project. Explain your project, what you did as a QA. Explain the working style of your project, like from this point it is going to start and when at this point you are going to involve in testing process. At what time, like if you are working agile or any model, then at what time QA is being involved. So, and what are your responsibility? Suppose you are in a sprint planning as you are using agile. So in sprint planning, what as a QA you will be doing? We used to, so as a QA we can provide story point, we can discuss, we can ask question in this sprint plannings, and same goes with other thing where you have used OOPS concept in project. So as you are using automation or you are working on automation, so he will ask you about your OOPS concept uses in project. If you have used it, you have to explain that you have used inheritance classes, polymorphism, which includes your overloading, overriding, and interface abstractions. So all these things, if you have used any of these things, so you can answer him like I have used in this way. He can ask you more about it, like what by using these OOPS concept, what you have saved or what challenges you have fixed. Next is API error code. So if you have worked on APIs or you have mentioned in your CV that you have worked on API testing or manual testing or automation testing, he will ask you more. This is very important question. He will ask you more about API error codes, like what is the series of 200, what is the series of 300, 3xx, 4xx, and 5xx. Like 5xx is belongs to server side error, 400 side client side error, 200 is like created or something like that, 201, 204, 400 series. So you should know the description as well as uses and the circumstances where you can get these series of error. Next question, how to validate API using Postman. So if you are using Postman as a manual testing of API, so he can ask you about how to validate API. So in validating the API, if you are using GET API, then you must be getting some response. How to validate the response and what is the on what basis you are validating this response. If you are using post, what is the body of that and what is the response of this API and how you are validating it that this is the correct API. So we used to verify on the basis of the response as well as response code. Next is how to confirm which user is logged in. In this, we interview will ask you about your debugging skill to find out the test cases or write down the test cases if user is logged in, and you need to write test cases around it. Next question is difference between find element and find elements and its return type. So suppose you are using these two things in your automation. So what are the return type of this? What is the return type of find element? If I am going to use, or by mistake if I have used find elements at this place, then what will happen? He can ask you about that. Next is if we have 3 checkboxes and you need to pass parameter in the second checkbox. So the interviewer want to know about how you are writing the dynamic XPath. So in this way you can write some dynamic XPath and answer the question. Next question is, what are the difference between string buffer, string builder? So as you are working on automation, so you can answer difference between these. So when you are going to, interviewer might ask you about more about string. When we are modifying this string, what will happen? Are we able to achieve in the modification of string in Java? So we can answer string buffer and string builder. So what is the difference between implicit, explicit and fluent wait? And what are the syntax of that? Next is, how do you check if two strings are equals in Java? So he can write you a program to compare two strings by double equal to or using equals. So the string S1 could be, let's take an example. S1 is ABC, S2 is ABC, S3 is created by the object. So if I'm going to compare these two strings, what will happen? Is it going to give us true or false? If I'm going to compare this, what will be the output of that? Next question is, how do you handle exception? So as doing automation, you must be facing some challenges while handling the exception, like WebDriver exceptions, no such element exception, timeout exceptions, arithmetic exception, or any other type of exceptions. So how you are handling these exceptions using try catch? What are your steps to save your script by failing it using exception? Assert and verify, very simple question. Why we use assert and why we use verify? Next is, you have this array, you need to store it and reverse it. Simple question to some problem. In this, suppose you have a number and the interviewer want you to print the number, two number where sum is 7. So answer could be 5, 2 and 3, 4. So these are the two number where sum is 7. So you need to write a logic to implement this or to solve this to some problem. Next question. Test ng annotation. What are the sequence of test ng annotation that you have used in testng.xml? So suppose I am to execute a test case, what will be the sequence of execution? So the sequence is, we will be using before suite, before test, before class, before method, and then after method, after class, after test, after suite. So these things you should know. Data provider. How we are using data provider for parameterization and how we can pass the data provider in at that rate test ng annotation. Difference between JUnit and test ng. Advantages over test ng in JUnit. Explicit wait syntax. So you should know like how we can use this WebDriver wait. We can pass the driver and time dot until the expected condition, and the condition is like wait for visibility of the element and something like that. You can, I mean, if you have used the explicit, that you can answer that. How to invoke browser? So invoking the browser, the interviewer want to know how you can run your test cases on different browser, Chrome, Firefox, Edge. So he want you to write a simple program to invoke different browsers using Selenium. So the next question was, read Excel file in Selenium. So as you are, if you are using data driven, then you can answer that. How to do parallel testing? So parallel testing, it means to say, if I want to achieve parallel automation or parallel execution, how we can achieve? So he want you to answer like, for parallel automation, we are going to use thread local to execute n number of thread or n number of instances of driver or browser to execute our parallel test. Next is exceptions in Selenium. Different types of exception. What is stale element exception? This is very important. I mean, many interviewer used to ask this question, like what is the stale element exception? How you can get rid of that? What are the steps you should take to get rid of that? Next is drag and drop. As you can answer like we are using action class to achieve the drag and drop feature. The next question is write a program, find second largest number in this array. So what you can do, you have to sort this array first, and by sorting it, the highest will be this and second highest will be 30. So you can answer that. Or if you want to write a logic without sorting or without using sort inbuilt method, then you can implement something like that. Next is given a list of words followed by two words. The task is to find minimum distance between the given two words. So suppose this is the string. This is software testing interview. So the interviewer want you to find the difference or distance between these two. So you can iterate it, and once the string matches with the index, then you can get the index of it and the last index, and difference between these two index will be our output. The next question is two strings are isomorphic. So what is that? All occurrence of a character must be placed with another character while preserving the order of character. So what does this mean? So suppose I have a string s1 that is called AAB, and second string is XXY. So these two strings are isomorphic. So for implementing the logic of it, you should iterate the first string and create a map and store this key and this value. So we need to create a map, hash map of character, and the value is character, and we will be storing iterating the first string 0 to s1 dot length, and once we get, and we have to iterate s1 dot char at I. So we'll get a, then we'll check if a is available in map, this key is available in map or not. So definitely it is not, so it will go to the else condition. In this it will get the index of it. So I mean you can find out the answer and solve it. So that is from my side, and thank you for watching. If you have any questions related to the interview, please ping me on this channel. Definitely I want to help you in explaining these ideas, explaining these questions or program in better way. Please like and subscribe the channel. Thank you very much for watching.